Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about what specific adaptations allow human beings to run distances greater than 26.2 miles, which is what an ultramarathon is, and specifically in mountainous settings. So, a little bit of history about ultra running. Ultra running goes back millions of years from early Homo species to nomadic peoples through the millennia, and all the way to modern North American tribes such as the Tarahumara, which you can see in the bottom left-hand corner. Some of the members of this tribe will run distances of 40 to 50 miles every single day to gather resources or to chase down prey until they drop dead, among other things, which I think is pretty amazing. But as far as ultramarathon racing, it was very much kind of a cultish thing until like the late 70s, where participation in ultramarathons started to grow exponentially. In the bottom right-hand picture, you can see the start line of Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, and obviously there are a ton of people. But however, ultramarathon participation still pales in comparison to shorter road races, of course. Now a good example of this is the Leadville 100, which was started in 1981 by a guy named Ken Schlauber, who was told by the local hospital administrator that he'll kill someone. It's 100 miles long, it has 15,000 feet of vertical, and is between elevations of 9,000 to 12,000 feet. So it has a lot of crazy terrain, and usually less than 50% of people complete it. However, it still requires a lottery to get in, so there are a lot more people trying to race in this event than can actually race in this event. Now, what do people who participate in events like these look like, these very strange people? Well, a good example is Scott Jurek right here, a very famous ultramarathoner. And he embodies kind of like the typical elite ultramarathoner form. He's ectomorphic, has a very thin stature with a thin pelvis, has a very low % body fat, and has kind of an average height. So that's kind of the characteristics you're looking for if you want to reach a high level. A CC grad from about 10 years ago, Anton Krupichka, actually won the Leadville 100. And here's a little video of him running it. So here you can see him running, and it appears like he's not really exerting a ton of energy. He's not really bouncing a whole lot, and seems to just be kind of gliding along, and seems like he could be doing this all day. Well, this kind of ties into the main point of this presentation, which is to explore the 4 main biomechanical adaptations that allow ultramarathoners to complete these races, backed by many studies in recent history. So, one major modification ultramarathoners employ is modifying their stride. So, while soccer players or track athletes at shorter distances will run more on their forefoot for maximum energy return and for maximum efficiency, ultramarathoners don't do this. Instead, they employ a shorter, quicker, and more planted stride on the ground, where there is more contact time and less air time. Their muscular stiffness is also decreased compared to just your typical run-of-the-mill track athlete or football player. And this all seems like it'd be meant to preserve efficiency. A second major adaptation that ultramarathoners use to complete these types of races of 16, 20 hours or more is to keep a stable pelvis and center of gravity. So most ultramarathoners that are at the higher level will minimize vertical oscillation, which is how much they bounce, and also mediolateral and anterior-posterior oscillation, which is front and back or side-to-side oscillation of the center of mass. So they sway very little, and this is to prevent swaying of their trunk and loss of efficiency. As you can see up there, that's where a typical person's center of mass would be, and here's kind of a cartoon of the center of mass as well. So a third adaptation ultramarathoners employ is a midfoot strike pattern. So while track athletes or soccer players will run more on their forefoot, as I already mentioned, but some runners will be more of a heel striker. Well, where the back of the foot, the heel contacts the ground foot first. Ultramarathoners kind of find a balance between these two things. They'll run at a midfoot strike, where they can both preserve their lower extremities, but also prevent the jarring of of heel striking and a total loss of efficiency. So they can have kind of a somewhat medium level of efficiency, but also are able to preserve their lower extremities by not running completely on their forefoot and bouncing up and down. So the fourth concept that we want to explore is uphill and downhill running. So studies have found that ultramarathoners, through the course of their ultramarathon, will actually have better efficiency running uphill, but their downhill running efficiency actually decreases. So what does this all mean? That means biomechanical adaptations during an ultramarathon are not primarily to increase efficiency, but are primarily to preserve the muscles of the lower extremities. If an ultramarathoner tried to run a whole marathon on their forefoot, which is the most efficient way of doing it, their muscles would be way too tired by the end. And obviously they accomplish that by using a midfoot strike and by not prioritizing efficiency going downhill. So how are these different adaptations tested? Well, there were three major modalities that I found in my papers. So the first is using just a visual analysis using a camera and a treadmill. So a camera will analyze angles of the body, they'll examine kinematics, and they'll also examine the angle of the foot to look at their foot strike patterns and also measure stride frequency and other variables of that nature. However, to also analyze foot strike patterns, they will use pressure plates, such as the figure up there, and to measure energy efficiency, which I alluded to a couple slides ago, they will use VO2 gas analysis to measure how well they're using energy. So in the future, other important topics to explore is the specific biochemistry, like what changes inside that you cannot see during an ultramarathon that allows them to perform better, such as the oxidative capacity of muscles, and also footwear, which basically acts as an extension of the body. Is more cushioning better? That's one good question that has some dispute in studies. So, general importance of all this is understanding how humans can adapt and handle extraordinarily harsh conditions, such as an ultramarathon. All right, thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it.